My name is Travis Jones. Last name Jones, Jones.
Travis, how are you related to Tim?
Tim is my older brother. I don't believe in calling him my half-brother because he has been in my life since I was born, and I don't know anything outside of him.
So who are your parents?
My parents are Tim Jones and Carolyn Williford, now formerly was Jones.
Yes. Tell us about your first memories of Tim.
So the first memories that I can remember having of my brother are basically the first memories I have as a child. And birthday parties were a big thing for us when we were kids because me and Tyler were only 11 months apart. Our parents would throw a birthday party for us together. And I remember Timmy would always just come and grab us, and he'd take us to the cotton candy machines that we'd have there and take us to the little bounce houses and stuff. And we would just always around each other and always tried being a part of his life. I mean, he's my big brother.
When you were pretty young when Tim was sent away for the convictions that he had for stealing the car and stuff like that in Illinois. Do you remember going to visit him in prison with your dad?
I do.
Can you tell us about that?
I remember going with my father to go see Timmy when he was locked up. And I remember when we were sitting there, my dad was talking to Timmy, and he said something along the lines of, "I want you to talk to your brothers." You know, basically trying to get a point across to Tim that what you've done is what you've done, and you're going to see a consequence for it. And when I sat up there and talked to Timmy, he looked at me and he's like, and I almost could say this exact quote. He looked at me and he's like, "Little brother, where I am right now, I never want to see you here. And I've done everything in my life to make sure that that never happens. I try to be the best man I can because I know that's what he wants of me and my father too."
When he got released, were your parents divorced at that point?
By the time that Tim was released, yeah, I believe my parents were separated by then because I remember Timmy living out in Bensonville with my father. They had an apartment with one of my dad's friends that he worked with.
What was your life like at that point with Tim? What role did he play in your life?
So after Tim had gone and got in trouble, and when he finally had gotten out, he became a lot more to me than what he was originally, which was just a brother. He became almost like a father figure to me because shortly thereafter, which we'll probably get to, he ended up moving, my father moved down to Mississippi. And I stayed very close with Tim. I stayed very connected with him, and he took me under his wing. He saw that I was having a hard time dealing with my parents' divorce. He saw that I was having a hard time in school, and that there was a couple other personal problems that I was dealing with too, and he helped me through every one of them.
Our man approach. Mr. Jones, I just want to ask if you recognize these three photographs along the road. That is 337, 336. These pictures with you in them. Yes. You're going to offer these into evidence. Thanks for permission to publish them. Charles, I'm supposed to.
Hold on a minute without objection. Make sure you get the numbers back.
Yes. I'm just going to put these pictures on the overhead, and if you'll just tell us about what's going on in these pictures. This is 338. Just tell us who's in that picture.
So that's me. Obviously, I'm being baptized, and that's my brother Tim with his arms up, beyond excited and thrilled for me. And I was excited too, and I was beyond thrilled. And in my eyes, that was probably the proudest moment that my brother had with me.
Was this at a church in Illinois?
Yes. Yes, it was. It was at a church up, I think it was in Bensonville. I'm not too certain exactly the name or where it was at this point. It's been quite some time.
And is this something that Tim wanted for you? Did he encourage you to get involved in church at this point?
Yeah, he had encouraged me to do it because, like I said, he had seen that I had a lot of my own problems dealing with my parents' divorce. And, you know, when Timmy had gone to jail, it was hard for me because, like I said, he was my big brother. You know, we spent every morning together eating cereal, watching cartoons and stuff before my mom would come pick us up after he'd been in jail. We would sit there and watch Ed, Edd, and Eddy. And we even named each other after the characters.
Take your time.
Thank you. So we named each other after this little cartoon. I don't know if any of you have probably heard of it. It's called Ed, Ed, and Eddie. It was about these three neighborhood boys, basically like brothers, that grew up in this little cul-de-sac together. And Tim was double D because he was smarter than anybody I've ever met. And T-Bone was always just trying to find a way to get his hands on a little bit of money, no matter what it was. If he found change in the couch or whatever, he's always trying to collect as much coins as he could. And I was the bigger one of the group. I was always clumsy and a little bit slower than the rest of them. So I was Big Ed. He was the kind of dummy of the group, for lack of a better term.
How old were you about that time?
I want to say I was probably about, what year did Tim get sent away? I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head.
He came out around 2003. And you,
So it was probably almost immediately after that started, because once Tim was out, once he was at my dad's, it was a really good brotherhood. I mean, he was the best. Still is. I know he did what he did, but the man who did that is not the man who's sitting right here right now. I'm sorry, Tim, but I could sit here and look at you and tell you that you're not all there anymore, brother, and I'm sorry that you have to go through this too.
Travis, I know you spent a lot of time around your nieces and nephews.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. As much time as I could. It was kind of hard being states away, but we always made a way.
Yes, sir. I'll show you 336 and just tell you, if you would tell the jury who's in this.
That's my little Mira Gracie. It was, I think it was the Christmas after she'd been born, and we were just all sitting down at my dad's, and actually that's taken on a camera that Amber and Timmy had gotten me, I believe, for that Christmas. It's just a little small black camera they'd gotten me, but I'd never had one before, and they knew I always wanted pictures of all the kids every time I'd come down, so that's what they gave me.
Was Mira the niece that you felt the closest to?
Yeah, because I got to spend a little bit more time with her than the rest of them. Obviously, when she was the only one, you kind of get that connection of just having the only child, so they get all the extra attention being my first niece, and she got all the extra little attention that all those babies eventually got, but I got a year with her before the rest came.
I'm just going to have one last picture I wanted you to discuss or tell us about. This is 337.
That's Mira and I in my dad's pool, the one that he had down in Mississippi. It was I believe that was the summer we had taught them how to swim. I'd come down and stayed 2 weeks with a good friend of mine. We stayed down there for 2 weeks because I believe this was the summer of 2012. No, this is before that. I'm sorry. This is when I'd just gone down on a vacation by myself. But I'd gone down on a vacation for 2 weeks and stayed with my brother and my dad.
did you spend time there that summer of 2012? When
Yes, I did.
y'all lived there?
Yes, I did.
Is that a special time for you?
In a couple of ways, but yes. Yeah. It was arguably in the 26 years I've lived, that was probably my favorite 2 weeks out of my life that I've ever lived. I got to spend all the time in the world that I wanted with them little babies.
You mentioned Tim encouraging you to go to church with him in Illinois. Does he encourage you in other aspects of your life?
Timmy always encouraged nothing but positive things about my life. He always wanted me to go to school, which I always promised him I would. And this year in January, I enrolled at Elgin Community College to start my welding certifications, and I'm working my way to get an associate's in science.
Is it important to you to try to make Tim proud of you?
It's probably the highest ranking thing in my list, right next to my dad, my mom, my brothers, and my sisters.
Tell us about times in your life when you've been upset about something and what Timmy's been able to do for you when you're upset.
I don't want to get too much into the details, but my mom had a boyfriend that she was with for around 10 years, and Eric and I, we didn't really see eye to eye too well. We had a lot of our own difficulties, and it caused a lot of tension and stress in my household that I grew up in without Tim being there, but with Tyler, my mom, and I, and Eric. And I remember one night just calling Tim, and I was so mad that I could have just put my fist through any wall next to me. I was just so frustrated. I couldn't calm myself down. And for some reason, the only thought that I had was, you know what, I'm gonna call my brother. So I walked outside and I called Tim. And the way I would explain it is I was, you know, everyone's seen what the ocean looks like. You've seen how high those waves can get. I was that when I talked to him. By the time I hung up that phone, in a matter of 10, 20, 30 minutes, I was no wake. I was in no wake zone. I was completely calm. He knew how to talk to me. He knew how to get through to me. Always has.
Is it important to you to have Tim in your life even though he's going to be in prison?
Yes, it is. It's the most important thing to me, and that's why I'm here. Because I do not want to see him lose his life. I've already lost so many people in my life. I lost my favorite uncle when I was a kid. I lost my Aunt Elaine when I was a kid. And now I have to live with this constant fear that I'm going to lose my brother after I've already lost my nephews and nieces. Please, please don't do that to me. Don't make my family have to endure this.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Casey.
Good question.
So, defense calls Jackie Rangel.
Spell your last name, please.
It's Jacqueline Rangel, Rangel.
So, okay, if I call you Jack,
Yes.
I'm going to approach you.
Just want to show you.
Pictures that have been marked on fences at 347, 351, 350, 349, 348, 346, 345, 344, 343. Just, do you recognize these extended pictures? And I also wanted this flash drive, like this 364. This, you've seen the video on here.
Yes.
And that's the call back. Your Honor, I'd move those items into evidence and request permission to publish them as on the screen.
Okay. No objection, yeah. All right. So I can give them an order, 343, 344, 345, 346, 347, 348, 349, 350, and 364 without objection.
Thank you, sir.
That's 350 and 351?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Look it written down.
Jackie, what's your relationship with Tim?
He's my brother.
Is your brother?
Yes, he's my older brother.
And so you're, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, just try to speak into that microphone so everybody can hear you. Thank you. Your mom is who?
She's my biological mother,
That's
Julie Jones. Yes.
So how old were you when your mom married Steve?
When they officially married, I was in middle school, but he's been in my life since I've been about 7 or 8 years old. He's the only father I've ever known. And, he's he's my father figure, Tim Jones Sr. When people ask who my dad is, that's who I refer to, And just like my brothers, there is no step. They're my brothers. I grew up with them my entire life. It's all, it's all I know.
Yes, ma'am. You had spent a bunch of time with your nieces and nephews.
Yes.
And I want you to, if if you will tell us about the first time that you really spent significant time with them when they were living in Stark.
Yes, when he started college in Starkville, basically anytime that we had like a 4-day weekend or a break, I would always go to his house. And even the summers, I would spend, majority of my summer with him and Amber. We would wake up, play with the kids, take them to this park or that park, or, Timmy would drive us to a park, down the way if, me and Amber didn't feel like walking that day. We'd all have lunch together, and then, then we would put the kids for nap, and even dinner time, he would come in, have dinner with us, and, me and Amber, we would go on our nightly walk together, and just me and her is kind of our, break away from everything. And, in a tribe of boys, me and her grew closer to, I'm even comfortable saying that, she's like a sister to me. We had a very good relationship, Some nights we would just stay up, giggling like middle school girls, She would always help me with my hair or what to do, or if I had a question about a boy, she'd always be there. Or, if I was not supposed to be dating someone at the time, she would help sneak that and keep it from my father and let me call and have a conversation with them. Or, she was someone that I shared secrets with and confided with, and, looked to just basically anything, with both of them. With schooling, I go to him. With questions about anything else, I'd go to her.
When they moved from Mississippi to South Carolina, was that tough for you?
It was. I would talk to my mom. It's like I had to find like a new norm, and kind of, get a different life and make more friends. So I kept myself busy, because I look forward to that time. In a way, I've always felt like I was like their second mom. When they fell, I picked them up. When they were sick, I gave them soup. When their tummy hurt, I'd rub it until it went away. And, I cared for them, and I loved them wholeheartedly, like they were my own. And it was tough when they left, because it was like a part of me was voided, and I didn't know how to fill it. I just felt a little empty inside.
At that point, it was the oldest 3 children, right? Mary, Eli, and Tom.
Yes.
What's the next time where you get the opportunity to really spend a lot of time with them?
The next time that I got opportunity to spend with them was the summer of 2012. My brother was going through some hard times with his wife, and he brought Mira, Eli, and Natan first, and was like, okay, Mom and Dad really couldn't full-heartedly look after them, all day, because they both worked. So I was like, well, I can do it, and if I need something, you guys are right there, so if I'm screwing up, you can tell me. And, so I had them. And then, a little while later, I got Gabriel, and I laugh with my mom because I had more of a schedule with them than I do with my own daughter. She goes kind of like a guideline. But we would wake up and we'd have breakfast the same time. I knew what hairdo they were going to do before they'd even ask. Mira, every night we had to do a braid, because brushing that in the morning was just a mess. And either she was going to do Rapunzel hair, that was her favorite princess at the time, or she was going to do a princess bun. And we would go, and my mom, she had a rose garden. She'd get so mad sometimes because they were just now where she'd grow some, and we would pick them, and we'd put them in her hair. And Elias, it was always a debate whether or not he was going to have part of his hair spiked or just full-on spiked hair everywhere. And Natan wanted a mohawk, but for some reason he couldn't say it and it was silent, and so he called it like a mohawk. And that's what he wanted every day. And so after breakfast, they all got ready. We would go to a park or a splash pad, or we would just do some outdoor activity. Then we would come, have lunch, and after lunch, we either would curl up all in the living room, I would make a spot on the floor, or we would go into Papa's bed and watch TV in his bed while it was, nap time, quiet time. If they fell asleep, they fell asleep, but if they didn't, I didn't pressure them to take a nap. And, even afterwards, when nap was over, it was time to take them to, our local library does different programs during the summer, and they had an event every Tuesday and every Thursday. So we went every Tuesday, every Thursday to them, or it was some outdoor activity, again, that we would do. We'd come back, dinner, with our nightly routine, brush teeth, wash face. We would pray, and, we would all curl up in my bed. Mira would be on my left, and she was just a wiggle worm at night, and Elias would be on my right, and he would never let go, no matter how much sweat he was sweating. And there was never a morning that went by that Natan didn't wake up with at least a handful of my hair from just holding on to it, because he would sleep. I moved down on my bed where my feet dangled off, and Natan would sleep at the head, and Gabriel, we set him up in our dining room, so that way it was between Mom and me, so that way, of course I wasn't used to a baby crying in the middle of the night, so if he got up, one of them could tend to him, or, if they heard him first, or whether or not it was I. And that's what I did my entire summer.
I want to show you some pictures.
Ask you to just tell us what's going on. I think that they,
About what you were just talking about. This is pre-47.
This is during the summer of 2012. Like I said, this is right before nap time, because Tom's wearing his Woody PJs, and I've got Mira's hair up with the headband. We would all just curl up, and even if you look closely on his wrist, you can see we made friendship bracelets. Mira loved to make things and do different things, and we all made some at the beginning of summer, and they wore it all summer long. And we would have like a few silly moments to get our last bundle of energy out, and curl up together, and it was always a debate on what movie to watch, but Mira always won out. So 9 times out of 10, we were watching Rapunzel, or Tangled, excuse me.
This is 249.
Yes, that's a little bit after. Like I said, during nap time, we would just have our last minute sillies and energy, and he always loved to do his like little piggy face, and he would make like little grunting noises, and actually you could see closer the bracelet that I was talking about.
This is 350. Take the same day.
This is me and Mira. It's the same day, same time, and just smiling. You can't hear it, but I think it was the loudest cheese she ever gave.
It's 351.
Yes, that's Elias. I always called him. He was my little cuddle bug. There wasn't really ever a time where if you saw me, Eli was sure to follow, and even with Gabriel, we were all pretty much always joined at the hip.
348 was Gabe. You said that he was in the.
Yes, this is him right before nap time. I was actually, you couldn't tell, but I was tickling his feet. And he was literally just the happiest little baby ever, quiet, content. Just anything and everything would satisfy him or make him laugh.
Did you mention this already, I'm sorry, but did you take the kids to church that summer?
Yes. We never missed a sermon. Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Wednesday evening. If our churches had any other functions, we were there. Even with VBS, we were there from the moment it started to we were the last ones to leave. And we went to my church's VBS and our sister church's VBS. And even then, it was a different denomination than, what Timmy believed, but he never corrected me on to take him to, an apostolic or however you pronounce it, church, or, was angry that I took them to my church. And, and they would sit and, they were perfect little kids. And one time, I want to say it was like John 3:16, because Timmy always talked about that verse with them. But our preacher was starting to recite it, and Mira actually jumped up and finished it. And it's like, it was a cute moment, and she felt so shy and embarrassed, and it was just nice because the whole congregation just let out this little "aww," and of course I've never seen her so red, and put her hands in her mouth and just kind of like recited in herself of what did I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. And I was like, no, that's good. And they just, they sat there quietly for the rest of the time. They were a part of our church family. There's not a member at my church that didn't know them. There's hardly any members of our community that didn't know them. If there was a community function, we were there. Like I said, our church is very involved with, a lot of different things that go on. Even the mayor of the town attends our church. So they were very much involved in my life as well as, the community. I don't think there was ever really a time that, not even when it was raining outside, because we would strap on our boots and go jump in puddles, even in the rain. There wasn't a day that we spent indoors. And Timmy and we actually took a vacation that summer too. And that's probably where I made my most fondest memories of them. On the way up there, I was just asking Timmy, we just talked like brother and sister, debated on where to stop for food and, whether it was going to be chicken or beef, fast food or sit down. He let me pick where to go and, research different places to go. And I want to say it's called the DuPage County Museum, I believe it's called. We went, and I think that's my favorite memory. And I couldn't find the photo to bring to you, but the photo just shows them as a family as a whole. There was like a bubble stand that you would stand in the center, and Natan would kind of always stand behind Timmy's leg, and he was holding Gabriel, and Mira and Eli stood together. And it was tight-knit, so you had to be close. And you would pull a lever inside. And, Timmy would start to pull it, and it would get halfway, and you would just see the excitement building in Mira's face. And then Eli would just boop and pop it. And, and Timmy would be like, okay, and he'd start up it again. And Eli, same, boop and pop it. And he did that like 3 more times. And, Mira just finally let out just this grunt and huff and aggravation. And, and Timmy was like, son, stop doing that to your sister. And, and that's the exact moment when I have the picture of them. And, and I told Timmy, I was like, okay, just like, look, one more chance, and, you know, we're forming a line, you know. We have to share, you know. We don't want angry moms on us. And, you know, even when we went places, you know, no one, it was just always happy, you know. I guess the brother I know was loving and caring, you know. He didn't yell, he didn't swear, I've never seen him drink, I've never seen him smoke a cigarette, you know. I've never seen him do anything bad. And, you know, my brother is kind, and he's gentle, you know, and I love him for it. And that's why it's hard for me to be here, because it hurts, because I'm angry because he missed out on important moments of my life, you know, like my wedding. The main thing that I wanted was to dance with all my brothers, and he wasn't there. The birth of my child, you know, he wasn't there. And, you know, as the only girl, it's like, you know, put your foot down, and you want your way. And even now, I still see my brother, and it's hard, because I just want to go and hug him, and I can't touch him, I can't do anything.
How has what happened to your nieces and nephews affected you as a mother?
It affected me a lot, because, like I said, when it happened, we wanted to do a memorial service, but no one was strong enough to step up and do it. And, you know, I kind of swallowed it, put it in a box, and I stepped up and I did it. And I did it to the best of my abilities. I went through, God, thousands of photos of them, you know, which ones to pick, what to pick, where to put them, what pictures am I going to use for the wreaths, what color are they going to be, what theme are the wreaths, how big, what flowers, you know, what song will I play, who will speak, when, the order, even the balloon release, down to the dress code. You know, I didn't want anyone wearing black. You know, I wanted it, you know, Sunday dressed, fun, bright colors. And, you know, and at the time I didn't know I was pregnant. And when I found out, it was hard. It was hard because, especially when the doctors told me my conception date is the day they died. And going through all of that, it was hard to tell my parents, who just lost the title of, you know, grandma, grandpa, that it's not true, you know. And so it was hard for them to be happy for me, and I didn't know how to tell them, so I left. And I went to go be with my now husband, and it was weeks before I told them. And even then, it was months before I came around, just because it was hard. And I would talk to my mom often, and, you know, we would talk about how it made it a little easier for her when people would ask how they are, how, you know, how's your grandchildren? And she could say, oh, the baby's doing okay. And even though she knew who they were referring to, it lessened the blow a little bit for them. And, you know, even with my daughter, I had a very hard pregnancy, and I wasn't near my parents just because I didn't want them to feel bad or have bad memories. And even when my daughter was born, it was hard because all I thought about was Gabriel and holding him and loving him. And, you know, even now, she's got long curly hair, and I have to brush it and braid it every night before bed. And it's like I just feel broken or angry, because I think of Mira and the way her attitude is sometimes. I think of Natan, and, my daughter always wants to look the best, be the best. She doesn't ever want to be in her play clothes when it's play. She wants the prettiest, sparkliest, poofiest thing out there. And it makes me think of Eli. He would always prefer, a button up and collar than a t-shirt and shorts. And, even now as a mom, I literally live in my parents' backyard just in fear that I can't let anything happen to my daughter because, God forbid, if something did, it would crush my dad. I knew he couldn't. I know he won't take it. I won't be able to take it. And, being here is hard because she's so far away. And I just have, this anxiety, this restlessness that something's going to go wrong and I'm not there, that I can't get to her fast enough, and she knows where I am. She knows who her Uncle Timmy is and tells me all the time that, Uncle Timmy needs to give you back. And, but she can't understand, and even with that, with everything that's happened with Timmy, and I love my parents, but inadvertently, they worry about every decision I make, or, sometimes they overanalyze every step that I take with her just because we had no warning, and they don't want the same thing with her. They make sure, 20, 30 minutes every single day that they take her, and they literally have to kick me out of their house and keep her and, spend time with her just so they know that I get some downtime, that I have a break. My daughter has the best relationship with her papa and will be with him every day. She tells me all the time that she's going to go live with papa and just visit mommy. Because or if I get on to her for something, she tells me, "Oh, I'm going to tell Papa on you," and it's just little things like that she does. And
I want to show you, Census 344. Tell us about this picture.
this is the day that I moved into my dorm. This would be the beginning of August of 2012. Mira, we would take Mira shopping for all of my stuff, and she helped me decorate it. That's on the bed is 2 Build-A-Bears, one she made, one I made. And actually, if you can't really tell because it's blacked out, but that's Gabriel in between us. And Mira, she gave me a stuffed animal elephant that I'd used throughout the summer to tell him that, his name was Mr. Snuffleupagus, that we'd all named him together. And I told him, I was like, okay, well, he's going to be here, watch over us, and he'd keep us safe. And, she gave it to me, and she told me it was my turn to be safe since I was going to be away. And she helped me move in. And even Timmy, as kind of like a thank you for helping me with the kids. I didn't want money. He's my brother. I don't need anything from him. I just, he bought me actually the latest and best laptop there was, and oh God, it had to be like 20 inches wide or something. It was so big that it was literally the only thing that I could ever fit on my school desk. And, it had all, I guess, the bells and whistles that went along with it, and the best of the best processor and memory. And I actually used that throughout college for everything. And even then, it was hard sometimes because a couple months later, we lost touch. And I'm big on my promises. If you promise me, hold up to it. And he'd always promised that he'd help me with work, help me with my schooling. And it's, you know, I did it all I had to do it on my own. He was there for the beginning, and then we had our falling out, and then was gone for the middle. And, you know, he was always just a phone call away, and then he wasn't. And a part of that's just, we were both stubborn. And you couldn't tell neither of us that we were wrong. We always were right.
I'd like to play a video of the memorial service that you planned and organized. Is that all right, Your Honor?
Yeah, sure.
Some have been the backbone in supporting each other. Many have wept. Many, of course, is still still shocked. But they're holding up very well.
Seems like unfathomable amount of pain caused your family by what Tim did.
Yes. It hurts. And that's what I told my parents. I had to be strong because we had to find a new middle. And so a lot through all the past years, I've kept it inside. I can't let myself feel it sometimes because I don't understand. And even when I look at him, I'm more mad that he didn't ever call me because I feel like I failed him as a sister because he's always been there for me. And when he needed me, I wasn't. And I failed because I didn't let him know that it was okay to call me, that I would be there. And that's what I told him. I'm like, I'm not mad at you. And, you know, I even forgive you. And because the Timmy I know isn't capable. You know, the Timmy I know is full of love and compassion and, you know, doesn't even yell or scream or any of it. And so to hear everything, you know, that other people witnessed or endured, you know, it's just unthinkable. And, you know, even what people say about him, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's okay. But nothing's going to change my mind about him. he's my brother. I love him. He's never stopped being my brother. I've never once shown or hid away from the fact that he is my brother. And, you know, and I've already lost him. You know, I'm not getting him back. You know, I will never be able to bring him home for Christmas dinner so he can meet his niece or, you know, let him hold her or anything. And I can't lose him completely.
Do you want him to be put to death?
No. No, I don't.
Defense rest.
Here's the matter, obviously.
Take a break. All right, step into your room. Have you back in your few minutes.